Okay, so have you ever thought about, like, what if somebody hacked into, like, a nuclear warning system?
Oh, wow.
Is
Um,
that even possible?
yeah, that's a really good question. And it's not just something out of a movie.
Right.
It really did happen, and that's what we're going to be diving into today.
Exactly. So we're going to be looking at a time when someone actually did manage to get into a nuclear warning system,
Yeah,
which when I first heard about it, I was like, no way. Like,
right.
how is that even possible?
Yeah, so it's one of those things you just kind of assume is, totally locked down,
Yeah.
that, nobody could ever get in there, but turns out not so much.
Right. So, like, how could something like that even happen?
Well, you got to think about the nuclear warning systems are designed to be like the most secure systems in the world, right?
Right.
Their whole purpose is to alert countries about, a potential nuclear attack.
Yeah.
So they've got all these layers of security,
Right.
like imagine like an onion, you know.
Okay.
So you've got, restricted physical access, like you can't just walk in there.
Right.
And then you've got really complicated authentication protocols. So even if you could get in, you couldn't just log in.
Okay.
You've got constant monitoring for any kind of suspicious
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
They really try to make these systems impenetrable.
So, like Fort Knox,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
somebody still got in.
But somebody still got in. So how did they do it?
Yeah. That's what I want to know.
Well, in this particular case, it looks like they exploited something called a zero-day vulnerability.
Okay. A 0 day. What is that?
So imagine there's like a crack in the wall, right?
Okay.
But nobody knows about it.
Okay.
Not even the people who built the wall.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of what a zero-day vulnerability is. It's a flaw in the software that's like totally unknown.
Okay.
So it's really hard to defend against it because you don't even know what's there.
So this hacker, like, found this crack
Right.
and, like, got it. But what were they trying to do? Were they, like, a bad guy, like, trying to, cause problems?
That's actually a really interesting part of this story.
Okay.
So it seems like in this case, the hacker was more of a security researcher.
Okay.
Their goal wasn't actually to cause harm or destruction.
Okay.
It was more to kind of prove a point,
Okay.
to demonstrate that it was possible to breach the system.
So kind of a white hat hacker.
Exactly, yeah. They wanted to expose the vulnerability so that it could be fixed.
So, like, they weren't going to launch any missiles or anything.
Right, exactly. Not a supervillain in this case.
Okay. That's good, I guess. But still, like, what were they able to do once they got in?
Well, the specifics are still classified.
Oh, okay.
But we know that they were able to gain access to pretty sensitive parts of the system.
Okay.
That means they could have potentially messed with communication channels, tampered with data,
Uh-huh.
or even, triggered a false alarm.
Wow, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, it's definitely a serious situation.
So what happened after they discovered this breach? Was there, like, some big cover-up?
Well, luckily, it doesn't seem like there was a cover-up.
Okay.
It looks like the hackers, since they were, this kind of white hat researcher,
Yeah.
they actually reported the vulnerability to the authorities.
Good for them.
Yeah, so they were able to patch the hole and hopefully, prevent anybody with bad intentions from exploiting it.
Okay. That's good to hear. So what happened to the hacker then?
Well, that's kind of a mystery, actually.
Really?
Yeah, there's not a lot of information out there about what happened to them after they reported the vulnerability.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they got a thank you and went on their way, or maybe, they were recruited to help beef up security.
Right. That would make sense.
Who knows? It's kind of fun to speculate.
Yeah, it's like a movie.
Right.
Did anything actually change, like, after this whole thing went down?
Well, governments don't really like to talk about security upgrades
Right.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But we can hope that this incident kind of served as a wake-up call,
Right.
that it made them really take a hard look at their systems.
Yeah.
Patch vulnerabilities and implement stronger security measures.
So, like, what does this all mean for us? We've been talking about nuclear warning systems.
Right.
But, like, what about other important stuff, like the power grid or banks?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
If a system like a nuclear warning system, which is supposed to be super secure, can be hacked,
Yeah.
what does that mean for all the other critical infrastructure that we rely on?
Yeah.
It's a little bit unsettling to think about.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also a reminder that we can't just assume these systems are secure.
Right.
We have to keep asking questions, demanding transparency
Yeah.
and pushing for better security measures.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting, we've been talking about, like, governments and big institutions,
Right.
but, like, we as individuals have a role to play too, right?
Absolutely.
Like being informed and, making sure that we're holding these organizations accountable.
Yeah, exactly. We need to be aware of the risks and
Yeah.
advocate for better security practices.
Mm-hmm. Right, because this stuff affects all of us.
It does. It affects everyone. And, the more we know about these issues, the better equipped we are to push for change.
Exactly, and I think that's a great point to leave our listeners with today. So thank you so much for joining
It
us.
is my pleasure.
And to everyone listening out there, stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions.
And remember, even seemingly impenetrable systems can be breached. So let's all work together to make our digital world a little bit safer.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.